All right, welcome everyone to our next session. So in this section, we'll be talking about digitization and the advancement of the SDGs and their missions, and youth entrepreneurship. So I'd first like to thank the audience again for coming. Please go to the description of the video to fill out the registration link. And just do the attendance portion of that as soon as possible. That will close at the end of the video. So go ahead and do that now. And again, just like in the last session, if you have any questions for our panelists, go ahead and enter them in the Facebook comment section. We'll be watching out for those, and we'll have a large panel portion of this session. So I'm going to start by introducing our wonderful panelists. So first up, we have Manav Subodh. He's the co-founder of 1M1B. Manav is a social innovator and a UC Berkeley Senior Fellow with over 22 years of experience. A series of events, including his experiences in Cairo during the Arab Spring, inspired him to leave his corporate job in 2015 and start 1 million for 1 billion, or 1M1B. His areas of focus include smart villages and AI for good. Prior to starting his entrepreneurial journey, Manav worked in the corporate sector for over 17 years with organizations like Intel, Hughes, and QAI. He served as the Global Entrepreneurship and Innovation Director at Intel Corporation, where he managed a US funding program of $10 million. Manav has also served as a member of the National Advisory on Innovation, Incubation, and Technology Entrepreneurship of the Government of India for over 5 years, and was a senior advisor to Ernst & Young for the state government of Chhattisgarh's policy formation for innovation and entrepreneurship. Manav is passionate about empowering youth to activate their ideas and get them to reality using entrepreneurial thinking. In this regard, he has conducted youth leadership workshops in over 7 countries. He is now on to a new challenge, piloting in India and the US, a new age innovation platform, Generation AI, to enable youth learning responsible AI and develop AI solutions to real-world problems. Okay, next up, we have Shaz Nasser. He works at Microsoft. And Shaz has worked across public and private sectors in North America and the Middle East as a digital change management practitioner. At Microsoft, he's part of the digital advisory group that's focused on putting people at the center of any technology program of change for governance. He's building responsible AI data governance and frameworks, people-centric smart city strategy, and leading change management programs across the public sector. He volunteers as a global shaper, an initiative by the World Economic Forum, and contributes to panels on the Fourth Industrial Revolution and the digital divide. He is also the co-founder of Mind This magazine, a media company aiming to redefine what success means for the 21st century young professional, with readers in over 175 countries. And then we have Mayela Calderon. Mayela brings with her over 10 years of international and domestic youth development experience. She most recently worked in fundraising at Girls Who Code, which is a nonprofit building the largest pipeline of female engineers in the US, as well as working with corporate and strategic partnerships at City Year in New York and Big Brothers, Big Sisters of New York City. She also has experience with early stage tech startups with social impact, Quartet and Sawyer Effect, solving issues such as integrating mental health into primary care. So I'm very excited to have these 3 panelists. This is an amazing group that I'm very lucky to be able to interview right now. And all of you as well, please leave your comments again with any questions you have in the comment section of the Facebook video. Okay, so first up, while we're waiting for people to do that, I'm just gonna start off asking the panel, how can the tech industry help ensure the stability of global economies? And what is the youth's role in this? So we'll first start with Mayela.
Overcoming some technological struggles. Thank you, Rebecca. I'm so excited to be part of this panel. I think it's incredibly important. And during COVID-19, we obviously saw the importance even more of being connected through technology when we're all isolated in our corners of the world. But to me, it's pretty simple. I think technology has overcome every physical barrier to connecting people, to serving people, and to employ people. And when we think of tech, we often think of the programmers and of the tech giants like Facebook and Google, but we are not thinking about how the little guys and the small businesses and the ordinary people without technical training or even college degrees are able to work in tech, and the only requirement is to have a phone at times. So we know, for example, Amazon grew a ton during COVID-19. They hired over 500,000 more warehouse workers during this time, as well as other industries, including Microsoft, thrived during this time as well. But if we think of like Uber drivers or grocery shoppers for tech startups such as Instacart, it doesn't require people having a technical training to kind of become part of this ecosystem. And so tech was already the fourth driver in job creation in the 22 main industries globally, and that's only going to continue to grow. And so I think youth have an opportunity from any corner of the world right now to really become a formal part of that ecosystem. The advantage that youth have over an older generation is that they grew up with technology, they grew up with social media, they grew up with marketing skills, they grew up with skills that people had to go to college for or learn in their first jobs or in their careers, and they're already coming to the table with that skill set. And so youth are really the primary users for so many of the technologies that are being created, and they should continue to train and become a formal part of that ecosystem.
Next, could we hear from Shaz?
Sure, absolutely. Just building on those thoughts. I mean, it's a powerful question. You know, how can technology industry help stabilize the global economy? I feel like people can get a PhD on this and still not get to that answer. But I think considering being here in America and what's happening right now with the social injustice going on, I think it's a good time to kind of reflect on some past leaders like Malcolm X, who kind of really summed it up quite well, where without education, you're not going anywhere in this world. So how can technology companies help empower governments and policy leaders and everyone in between to democratize education? Do we really need to go to a very fancy Ivy League school in order to matter, in order to have our voices heard? I don't think it should be that way, but quite frankly, it is. You really do kind of need to have that powerful network that you can maybe only attain through these fancy universities that are out of reach for various other social economic reasons. So I think the role of a technology industry, regardless of the company, is to really ask, how can we empower governments? How can we redefine what we're trying to open to? Quite often we hear we need to reopen. Post-COVID world, you got to reopen. But we need to ask ourselves, what are we reopening to? Do we really want to just go back to the status quo? I don't think so. We need to reimagine what is going on in the world, and we need to kind of really sit down and understand the social contract. Where my examples are very American based, because that's kind of where I live. So I don't believe in trying to profess what should be done in countries I don't even live in. But the average American hasn't received a real wage increase in the last 30 years. If you just look at LinkedIn and you take a look at some of the top level CEOs and you look at the education that they have, and you compare it to the junior analyst youth programs and their requirements, their CEOs wouldn't make their own youth development programs. They wouldn't even get in. So there's so much technology barriers, there's so many educational barriers, and I think the technology industry has a role to play in helping empower government. So I'm not saying that we should take the lead on this. I believe governments that are elected and policymakers and small businesses are at the core of transforming and reimagining what type of economy we're going to open to. But we can really act as an enabler. That's where I see our role in.
Great, and then Manav.
Okay, hi everyone. Pleasure to be here and talking to all of you. So As my fellow panelist said, that's a great question. And I used to work with Intel Corporation, and that was 5 years back. And or rather, if you ask a question to any corporate executive pre-COVID, and you say, what do you think about youth, and what do you think we can do for them? And probably the answer will be philanthropy, or the answer would be, let's do a contest, or let's do some skilling program. Let's do some government enablement programs and work with the governments. And that's a typical thought even I was part of. If you ask me today, and this is just 60 days, things have changed, I will take things differently. If I was in Intel, or if I was in any multinational corporation today, I would say, let's look beyond philanthropy. Let's look at beyond corporate citizenship. Let's look at how we can integrate youth in mainstream business. So I think this is the time then all of us need to be aware of the fact that the economy is not doing well. Now, no matter which company you are, you will be suffering. I mean, some big companies, the big ships are not getting rocked. That's a misconception. They are getting rocked, but they are big size. They have got huge surplus, so they can survive and survive the turbulence for a little longer. But ultimately, a tech company needs to also plan for its future, and that's business, right? That's what gets everybody going. That's what secures the jobs, right? So they need to take care of the business of their employees and secure the jobs so that the layoffs don't happen. And we are already seeing all of that happen. So when you're talking about youth and tech companies, you need to think about how we can integrate them in mainstream business. And if I look at it, we need to be creative enough to look at what can be done with young people. Now, let's look at, for example, marketing dollars that are pumped in. I mean, any big company would, in a pre-COVID era, would be investing a lot in their marketing, in their newspaper ads, in their social media spends and stuff. And today they need to be really cautious of that. And the first thing that comes to when you're going through a recession is, let's cut your marketing spend. Well, that's also not going to help a lot of these tech companies, because you need to keep the demand. But there's a great option to engage young people in influencer marketing. And as we were just discussing, I mean, these are digital natives. They already know these marketing skills. We already are seeing a growth in the freelancing movement, and that is only going to grow bigger and bigger. The freelancing movement is going to go bigger. And today you have these young people who can sort of engage on short projects and sort of really pursue the influencing agenda of these companies in a very authentic way, through Instagram, through YouTubes and all the blogs. And, those are big skills the young people have and the youth have. Now, that could be engaged in such a strategic way by all these big companies in there and make them part of mainstream marketing. So I think the big companies need to look at this as mainstream and young people as part of the mainstream agenda.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for those really insightful answers. There's a question that just popped up in the chat, and I'm going to put it up on the screen now. So Salima asks, there is a large number of people that are uneducated and have no access to the internet or maybe to technology. How will those communities be benefited? I feel like I've heard this question a lot, especially as of late with COVID-19. I know that there are a lot of communities, even here in the US, I think some people are always surprised by that don't have access to internet or have access to technological devices. We're seeing things like buses be rolled out with Wi-Fi access on them. So I'm interested to hear about this from you all. And maybe this one we'll start with Shaz.
Sure, that's a great series of questions. I would say we need to avoid solutionism. So that's basically an idea that we have AI, so AI will solve everything. Let's use the hammer and keep smashing everything with AI. That's not a way to go about trying to solve issues. I do think, let's look at the numbers, right? 50% of the world have access roughly to internet. About 50%, give or take, of the world has a smartphone. So in one way you can say that's amazing. In other ways you can say it's quite disappointing. Either way you slice it, there's a lot of opportunity to grow. So again, it comes down to enablement. We need to establish Wi-Fi and broadband, I believe, my personal opinion, as a human right, as a way to develop your skills. The digital divide, which is what I think this question is trying to talk about, is real. However, in terms of technology, it's not a zero-sum game. I encourage you to talk to anyone that is facing some accessibility issues, and they'll be the first ones to say that actually smartphones are empowering us. I've worked with a lot of AI for Good initiatives that deal with accessible companies, and they're using technology to empower those that may have low vision or low cognitive issues or physical issues, that because of a smartphone or because of a technology, they're now better able to access education. They're better able to live the lives on their terms. And it comes down to human dignity, right? We really need to put humans at the center of everything that we do. So technology in itself is not some magical hammer that will solve everything, but it does seem to enable. It enables bad things. It also enables really great things. So we need to figure out a way to, how do we unlock? I mean, there are 1 billion people in this world that have some form of accessibility issue. That is 1 billion people that we could tap into that have to work 10x harder because they're just not as empowered as everyone else is. And the smartphone and other type of devices can help scale these solutions and help empower them, and not necessarily just, it's not this, oh, you're weak, let us help you. It's like, no. Let's make sure we're all on the same playing field so we can all tap into our own true potential. That's where I think technology can play a role.
Great, Manav.
Yeah, in fact, I would agree with Shah's. Smartphones are the way. That's the way for the future. I know that could be a big challenge for people who are not connected to the internet, but with the mobile penetration and the cellular networks and the 5Gs are going everywhere, I think that has a huge potential to even reach out to people who are uneducated. And today, education and not being educated has nothing to do with what you do. We've seen enough of the examples. Just because you have a phone, you can get connected to the taxi services. You can get connected to the farming supply chain. We've seen enough of those examples which are happening, where rural communities are getting connected because of the smartphone. Farmers are getting connected in the remotest part of India, Bangladesh, Vietnam, and they are able to be part of the global supply chain. Many farmers are able to even access, crop prices and stuff. So there is a direct and an indirect leverage that you can have from technology, even if you're in a traditional business like agriculture. So I know, I'm right now sitting in Bangalore, India, and ever since COVID happened, because of the lockdown, farmers have not been able to supply into the big cities. And guess what? A few entrepreneurs have leveraged that as an opportunity and, put a cloud service where farmers can really see where they're going to get the best prices, and they go and collaborate with people and get their farm to the market and straight directly to homes. So we are getting now our fruits and vegetables at our home, which was not happening earlier. So suddenly things have changed, right? And this has nothing to do with education at all. It just, you need to be friendly to the internet, right? I think that's the only way that you're going to be part of the system. So I think there's a huge potential, and there's still a lot of things that have not been unlocked. I mean, just wait for another 60 days and see the number of businesses that come up that we wouldn't have even imagined, which connects, the bottom billion, maybe. Right, and get them connected to the internet. I think this is a time for acceleration of the internet, and it's only going to happen in the next few days.
And Mayala.
Yeah, I want to echo everything that Manav and Shaz have already highlighted. I think that access to phones has really unlocked so many opportunities working in sub-Saharan Africa, no one had a laptop, but everyone had a phone. And I will say that smartphones obviously unlock even more opportunities, but even just regular phones. I mean, I was able to see technologies flourish on money transfers and phone credit transfers through phones. And it wasn't that the human aspect of it was completely left out of that process. There is still a human that needs to facilitate those transfers and that's able to manage it. And so people were able to have those jobs really remotely. They were able to have those jobs outside of the urban cities. They were able to sell phone credit and sell and do money transfers just using their phone and providing those services to the community in very remote villages. And so I think that I understand that there is a digital divide in access, but I think there's other opportunities that still allow people to plug in and to this globalized world. But in terms of kind of getting that training and kind of preparing those digital skills, I think that there's a ton of resources out there, even for unplugged lessons on how to learn how to do very basic coding or very basic design skill set that will make you more marketable for the job market.
Rebecca, if you allow me, I have a short story to share on that,
Yes,
which might just be interesting. And in fact, this is like a something that just came up as a surprise. So my team works in a few villages of India. And when the lockdown happened, there was and there is a tailoring unit that we are supporting that has a few women who know stitching, right? Stitching, tailoring. And we are on the phone with them. And when this thing happened, one of our team members realized that there's an increasing need for masks, right? And we just contacted these women, and they are supplying masks to the cities now. And over 300 women are part of this supply chain and this value chain, and they're earning money, which guarantees them income. 80% of them are below poverty line. And a lot of them, their men have lost the jobs because of the lockdown. So it's like women coming to the rescue of the families, and they have guaranteed income for the next 6 months. Like, I don't have it, by the way, for the next 6 months. But these women, 300 women, have a guarantee, right? So yeah, there's an interesting way you can look at opportunities. If you're even connected by the phone, things happen. And I think it's only a way to how to convert this crisis into an opportunity.
Yeah, I know, just speaking from the side of a quite young person, we've done a lot of our communications, just a lot of our team members in organizing this conference have access to phones, and that's their main source of communication, maybe not having a laptop or Wi-Fi all the time, reliable Wi-Fi at least. So the expansion of tech has been really felt even on that level. And I grew up in the midst of the tech revolution, and I don't remember a time I didn't have a cell phone. So it's been really interesting to see that. The next question that I wanted to share with you all is one I think that is really relevant, especially for on the cusp of the UN 75th anniversary. So people are wondering, how can technology or AI help to further the missions of the Sustainable Development Goals? Komal Dev is specifically asking about poverty and hunger, but I'm also wondering about how maybe tech and the tech industry is building opportunities for young people that might help accomplish these SDGs. And maybe here we'll start with Mayela.
I can't speak to the AI aspect of this. I'll definitely let Shaz take that. But for the technology part, I think that technology gives us an opportunity to connect people to causes that otherwise wouldn't be. And so I'm still a firm believer, not just in grassroots and in governmental change that are going to address these causes, but I believe in just human mobilization and being able to address them. And with that, I think that technology has been able to connect us so much more on a philanthropic level. and everyone feeling their humanity tied to someone else's, and being able to digitally be involved in things that are going to have impact. And so there are tons of movements, organizations, impact investment companies that people are able to jump in and be involved with. And it's really just through technology and through social media that these movements have really expanded. And so I think that we're in a really particular time in history where, thanks to technology, we're all able to be connected to something that is happening in other countries and be able to contribute to it. And to Shaz.
I mean, we all have an equal voice here, but poverty and hunger, it comes down to, in my own opinion, access to food and the cost of food. If you literally don't have your basic needs met, I don't think you're going to go up that Maslow hierarchy of needs. So in terms of specifically AI, machine learning, deep learning, I would say there are many use cases where farmers are finding new ways to be more effective with how they're using their resources to develop the food. And that can drive down the costs. That can actually save some of the materials that goes into producing the food. So ideally, the costs would go down, the reach would go up. So that's a precise example. And there's many, if you type in, AI for good, Microsoft agriculture, you're going to get thousands of precise examples. We won't go into that. But another more nuanced way, I think, is access to finance. As again, the solution, I don't think, is just giving people free stuff. It's allowing them to be empowered. And a first step of that is access to finance. So in America, there are many different studies, and of course, I assume other parts of the world, where if you're of color, if you're a man of color or a woman of color, you have less access to capital, regardless of how good your business plan is. You can go in to any bank with the same business plan and the same liabilities and assets, and you can walk out with no money because of the way you look. Now, no one's, I believe, is sitting there thinking, okay, Shah, this guy's a brown guy, I can't trust him. These are social issues that are embedded into how we grow, and there's a lot of different research that can be done on that aspect. However, imagine AI or machine learning or deep learning, however you want to slice it, can be built to identify some of those potential barriers or trend lines that before you say no to Shah's or whoever else, there's an AI advisor in your system that pops up and says, hey, this is the 30th person that you're saying no to, and there's a trend that we've identified. What's going on? Think about that. Or perhaps it can report out to the manager. Or there are ways where AI, very simple ways, can help unify the data sets, identify trends, and call out the systematic racism that many different institutions have baked into their culture or into their processes. So yes, there's many stories of AI replacing humanity and destroying everyone, but we can take that power, flip it, and then be able to call out those small acts of racism, societal issues that prevent people from getting the right access to finance. So those are two, I guess, concrete ways AI can help in accomplishing, the SDG goals.
And Manav.
Yeah, this is in fact a very interesting question and something that I have been really focused on and working for the last 1 year now. So one of the things that I want to just say is that people think AI is some science fiction. There's some robots or something happening, and AI is not for me, right? And if you look at AI is nothing but understanding data, right? And you can hire a person who codes to get that, organize that data together, and boom, you have something that works, right? So AI is nothing but data. I just understand data and how data works, and that's what AI means. There's no AI without data. So data is critical, and I work a lot with young people. I work a lot with social entrepreneurs, and whenever I work with them, they think, "Oh, AI is not for me because that's a computer science subject, and I don't belong there." Well, precisely for the same reason, we are having huge issues in India. For example, the other day, I got an email from one remote village in Gujarat, which is one of the states of India, and say, "Hey, we heard that you do some good work, interesting work. Can you help us in getting food supplies? Because we are not getting food supplies." And they were in a pathetic situation. And I said, you know what? India is known for young talent, youth talent. There's so many social entrepreneurs. How can you miss this? Right? And the very fact is there's no data to support food distribution today, right? There's massive amount of food distribution happening in India and across the world, but get what? There is probably so much duplication happening to the same communities that the communities that need it are getting left behind. Now, imagine if a young person who's just attending this conference right now could understand data, who's not an AI expert, who's not a data scientist, but he could understand and just get a simple data platform to make people plug in and give a shout out, hey, we need food, and can that come on a platform together? And some social entrepreneurs just does something about it, right? But we have this notion that AI is not for me. So we started in India an initiative called the AI Youth Lab, where we are actually working with everybody who hates AI. So that means everybody who thinks AI is not for me, and everybody who's not an engineer. We're working with artists, we're working with molecular biologists, we're working with social innovators, social entrepreneurs, and teaching them AI skills, basic AI skills that will empower their innovations forward, right? All the social innovators and entrepreneurs out here right now, if they know AI, and that's basic AI. I mean, I'm not an AI expert. I've learned AI in the last few months, right? I mean, you can just get enough that you can hire somebody, or somebody can code for you, and you can have a system, an AI platform that can help you achieve the SDGs in a much more efficient way. AI can really help us achieve efficiency, not in distribution system, but even flow of money. And I think that's the big potential of AI. So AI is for all, right? AI for all is a big agenda that we are going after. And AI for SDGs is a big agenda that we are going after, empowering youth to leverage AI from a non-technical standpoint, but use it for accelerating the SDGs in the next few years.
I want to take a second to actually chime in here because I'm a PhD student in mathematics at my university, and I've been working on a project on doing some predictive modeling for our homeless populations here in Salt Lake City. We have a huge air pollution issue here in Salt Lake Valley, which is no secret. We've been in the national news about that recently, but there's been no research into how that's affecting our most vulnerable communities. Specifically our communities of color here that's applicable, are geographically vulnerable regions, and then people who are experiencing homelessness. And so we're trying to do that. And I was asked to be in this project by my friend who is an anthropologist because of my background with math and modeling. But if we had more readily available knowledge to people who work in these fields, who work in the social sciences or in the anthropological sciences, they can say things about how different issues are affecting people disproportionately, and maybe have some sort of idea about how it will affect them in the future. So I very much wholeheartedly agree with this idea that we should expand knowledge and education. Shaz, were you going to add something there?
Yeah, just a quick practical tip. This course won't turn you into a data scientist, but it will empower you to understand the potential of AI. So I do recommend checking out AI for Business School by Microsoft and INSEAD. It's a free online course. There's also AI for Government as well. So you just go on Bing or whatever platform you use and search for that. It's there, it's available. It's a module. It's based on how you want to learn. And basically, when you're done that course, you should come out with it with a set of tools and a set of understanding on how to actually use and how to work with people who understand the data. So definitely go ahead and find that stuff, and I can share the link later on.
Yeah, that would be wonderful. Manav, were you going to add something as well?
No, I think I would just agree with Shad. I mean, AI is for everyone, and there are enough initiatives by like companies like Microsoft, IBM, Intel. I mean, they're trying to democratize AI and move it beyond the computer science topic, and anybody can benefit from it. And there's so much of these courses available online now. You just need the right mindset, and you need to just get over the fact that AI is not for me.
Great. We have enough time for 2 more questions, I think. I'm going to put this one up on the screen. So the question that they ask, that Ayesha asks is, how do you think AI or tech will replace our labor force? And I think one way I kind of want to spin this question is, do you see any ways in the future that we can start creatively making opportunities for young people digitally? I think that there's a lot of concern, as was in the comments section, just about AI replacing jobs and replacing people's source of incomes. And so I was wondering to hear a little bit about that. Maybe we could start with Manav.
Yeah, I think, of course, when Microsoft Office came into the market, I'm sure the same questions was asked, that the accountants will get redundant because Excel sheets are there, and Excel sheet can do all what accountants would do, right? We are in the same situation. You will there, yeah, there going to be some job losses, but there going to be more jobs that will come as a result of it, as we saw during Microsoft Office, right? And for introduction of any technology, when you're looking at a technology, you can look at it with the fear that is going to take my job away, or you can look at it as an opportunity to reskill yourself for the new world and really enhance your income. So I think for young people today, AI is here. It's not going to go away. Uh, Accept it and do something so that you can be ready for the jobs that are coming up. And there are a number of jobs that are coming up for young people. There are so many things you can do. And it's only going to increase. The AI is going to really unlock a lot of jobs that were not even there before. So I think look at that as an opportunity rather than as a threat is something that I would say. Plus, I would say if there's a youth, they need to look at what assets do they have, and youth have like tremendous assets naturally, right? They're born with digital skills, right? And as I was sharing earlier, I do a lot of work with University of California at Berkeley, and I'm involved in a case writing. We are doing a case study on one of the companies called Top Coder. Now, Top Coder is one of the biggest freelancing um, sites for hiring software developers who are freelancers, right? And as the COVID thing has happened, a lot of people and a lot of organizations who are reaching out to these freelancing sites for getting the job done, because they need to get the job done at a fraction of the cost. So we see this kind of movement happening where freelancing is going to only increase, and organization like Top Coder, one of the is getting covered as a UC Berkeley, case study. Now that talks a lot about where the trend is, right? And you could be part of that trend. I mean, digital skills as freelancers is like you can really offer this to large companies today. There are enough freelancing sites today that you can get on to. I mean, you guys are like, youth is so friendly with Insta, right? So friendly, YouTubers, right? I mean, like I've heard like when there was a survey conducted, what do you want to do in the future? Many young people said, I want to be a YouTuber, right? I mean, this is the time. This is the time really to activate that dream to be a YouTuber, because all the large corporations would hire you if you do something authentic for them and help there in the marketing efforts. So I think there is enough to be leveraged if we get out of that fear. I think young people naturally belong. They are the digital natives. They naturally belong to this world, and I think it's only a matter of time that they need to sort of accept that this is real and just leverage it so that they can benefit. The sooner you accept, the sooner you leverage, the further you will go. So I think it's time to really embrace this and go forward.
Mayela.
Sure. So this is a great question coming from someone that actually does not have a technical background. though I've worked with tech startups, I've worked with nonprofits that are increasing tech education in the United States and abroad. I myself am a fundraiser, and I bring strategic partnerships to the organizations that I work for. And there's always a human element that will never be able to be fully replaced by technology. And so there will continue to be jobs in this new digital world that will still need a human touch to be able to be successful. In fact, just using data in our work, a lot of times when we automated things, our relationships worsened, and we definitely made note of that, of how many touch points and how you can build rapport with other people and how you can sell products with less or more touch points from the human aspect. And we definitely took that data into account. Now, with that said, digital skills do improve my performance, and learning them has helped me become better at what I do. There's technologies like Salesforce, using Slack, using Trello for project management, that are going to help you be more efficient and better at what you do, and are going to be able to allow you to do more than you even ever thought would be possible manually. And so I think that digital skills help anyone in whatever field they are, just like enhancing your skill set and be able to do things more efficiently and more than you thought you were capable. But there will always be fields that will never be able to be fully replaced by technology. And we saw that during COVID-19. The workers that became essential during this era, many of them are not in the tech industry. They were the grocery stores, they were the nurses and the people in the medical field. And so we're going to use technology to leverage us forward and to become better and to become more efficient. But as Manav originally said, it's really less about less jobs being available and more about a shift. Tech has created over 300,000 opportunities just in the past year, and it's more about becoming a part of that.
Absolutely, I couldn't agree more with that, and I love the enthusiasm. I will play as devil advocate for those people in the comments that are feeling the angst. There is a difference between AI and automation. Automation has replaced jobs. Automation has destroyed the manufacturing industry. It's going to annihilate half the retail industry. A lot of these jobs are now being reimagined. So what you need to do today is to develop those digital skill sets so you could be a part of the reimagination, that you can be a part of the transformation. We can't turn into Luddites and defeat any type of automation efforts. Automation's been going on since the 60s. So that fight should have happened back in the 40s. We can't change the past. What we can do is do things right now to equip ourselves with the right digital skill sets. And that doesn't mean someone who's 80 has to go become a coder. That's another thing we need to talk about, is that we need to have public policy discussions that talk about bold new ideas to help redefine what the social contract is really about. What COVID has shown is that not everyone has to work in order to have a functioning economy. So then that begs the question, should we define our worth and value based on GDP, based on old metrics that were created in the 40s and 30s and 20s? I mean, I have a degree in economics. I understand those critical variables and data points so we can track success. I get that, but we need to focus on happiness, on human value. And I definitely suggest everyone to research Humanity Forward, which is an organization created by Andrew Yang, an American leader in terms of universal basic income, grant systems. Through this COVID disaster, there are many different governments out there that are now beginning to give out grants. So, $400 a month, $1,000 a month, $3,000 a month in some countries. So the idea there is that you don't have to go do something that you don't need to do in order to survive. We would rather give you the toolkits and the cash needed to have a baseline, so you could maybe go out and live a better life, which may in reality turn into more businesses. more small businesses being created, which would then lead to more jobs. So I feel your angst. I understand. You watch the news. AI is taking everything over. I work with AI startups. I used to work with the Department of Foreign Affairs for Canada. I've seen these AI companies in the back end. I can assure you, no startup is going to replace your entire job. However, we do need to ensure that AI is amplifying humanity, not replacing it. So definitely talk to your politicians about these issues. They matter. Your fears are justified, but the fear shouldn't paralyze you. Definitely take note of what everyone has been saying. Try to go out there and get the access to those different digital tools and digital skill sets so you can have a say in your future.
And then Manav, did you want to add on to this?
If I was a young person just listening to all this, I would say, what should I be focusing on? Right? I mean, sometimes we just need those like small recipes. What should I be doing? Right? And if I were to say, like, if you can get onto a course on AI, nothing like it. Look at AI from a friendly perspective. Look at that and see what you can do out of it. Second, I mean, you need to also look at a few technology trends that are coming up. AR, VR is coming up in a big way. That's something that you guys can look at. If not AI, if AI doesn't interest you, look at AR, VR. I mean, movie making and animation is a big thing that is coming up and is only going to increase from here onwards. And if not anything, just guys, if you're passionate about something, just do whatever you like, but get yourself out there in the world so that people can see you. You need to be, whatever skills you acquire, whatever you do, you need to be visible today. Just get yourself out there and get noticed in a nice way. Somebody is going to get you some work for sure.
Great. I actually have a couple questions. We have a little bit of extra time, I was just told, so we have time for 2 questions now. One question I had was maybe more of a personal one for you all, but also in relationship to kind of just moving forward globally with the event of the UN 75th anniversary and advancing the SDGs. What is something that you personally are really excited about that you're expected to see in the tech or the AI industries, or something that you maybe are working on yourself? Maybe here we'll start with Manav.
Something that I'm personally excited about is young people and leveraging the young people to achieve the sustainable development goals. In fact, my 5 years of work is all focused with youth and mobilizing youth in a very constructive way to achieve the sustainable development goals by the year 2030. We're already sort of doing that. There's a program that we're starting called Generation AI, which is for anybody who has a great idea to achieve the sustainable development goal, but does not know how to leverage AI. And we are just, it's like a leadership hunt program. And if you are onto something big, come and we will train you on AI and we will empower you to go after the dream that you have, as long as it is aligned to a sustainable development goals. And we have a fantastic partnership with the College of Engineering, UC Berkeley now on it. And they are endorsing this method, which is like AI just needs to be for anybody who's like sort of, and AI for SDGs is a big one. So I'm excited about mobilizing youth to achieve the sustainable development goals. And I think with so many young people joining the workforce, so many young people, watching this program live and maybe later, I think there's a huge opportunity. I think what is lacking right now is we are always looking at skills, what to do, what skills to take, which job to go for. We really haven't discovered what we are really passionate about and what we want to really stand up for. And if you're passionate about, if you want to change something in the world positively, there are enough resources available. And I think entrepreneurial thinking will get you there. So I'm excited about the entrepreneurial thinking, not just on being an entrepreneur, but entrepreneurial thinking as a mindset, as a skill set, for young people. And in fact, I'm not young, but I love that as well. So I think it's for anybody who feels young. I think that's the way to go forward. So I'm excited about young people and the very fact of entrepreneurial thinking and human-centered leadership. I think that's what we are headed towards now. We all have a common backyard called COVID. We all understand each other's problems, challenges. Earlier, when I used to talk about India, people used to say, hey, that doesn't happen in my country. Well, it happens everywhere now because there's a common backyard. So we all have an increasing understanding of each other's issues. I think that has brought all of us together and as a community. And I think we are just not now together as humans first, beyond the countries, the color, the race, and the caste, and the religion that we all represent. I think that itself is a huge opportunity for leadership to emerge. And I'm really looking at human-centered leadership emerging and really taking the center stage from here onwards. Companies are going to be looking for human-centered leaders, not just a tech talent. Big politicians are going to be looking, governments are going to be looking. So I think human-centered leadership is something that will take the center stage from here onwards.
Shaz, would you like to answer that question next?
Twofold. I mean, the one thing that I'm excited about is that right now, governments across America and probably the world are hyperactive. They are ready to implement digital strategy. They are transforming the way their employees work. They're optimizing their operations. They're transforming their products, their services. I have never seen these many government leaders across the spectrum, across agencies and departments, ask us, how do we transform? What's the best standards? What's Singapore doing? How do we benchmark to that? How do we quickly, develop things like virtual health services? How do we develop chatbots to democratize our services to those who can't physically meet anymore? How do we tap in and help serve those who are not fully able? So I really am excited about how much government has turned on. Our team is the workloads are 10x. Everyone is running towards us. However, the flip side is I am also, despite I really believe most of the world's issues that we are facing today are solvable, and not only solvable, but we have most of these solutions already. But there's still a lack of political will. There's maybe a lack of, so something wrong with the plumbing in our world today, that if we have the solutions, and we already know they work, like let's look at South Korea. The last 60 years, they went from a country needing donations to survive to being a country that's one of the leaders in giving donations in only 50 and 60 years. That's a generation. So we know what it takes to transform almost any country, almost any people. The issue is there's something in there, like social contract, maybe it was the demise of unions, I don't know. But today, even now, what's going on in America, where you have innocent people on CNN being arrested live. You have people who are just simply jogging, getting shot. Like, this stuff is insane. We need to figure that out. Like, I don't know how more I can make that as simpler to understand, whether it's technology or AI. So I'm excited about technology, and I'm excited about AI being able to be a use case to point out these microaggressions that we're seeing across different industries, to help collect the data points so we can prove that some of these social issues are very real. And once we have that benchmark, which I still think we actually already do, but let's just say we don't, then we can actually deal with these issues here, right now, today. So I'm excited for how everyone's activated. I'm a bit sad on why, we're trying to solve issues that we should have solved 100 years ago.
Yeah, agree.
And Mayala?
Yeah, I share a lot of the same sentiments and I share a lot of the same excitement. I am just excited about the possibilities. As I said, I think it's absolutely incredible that this generation grew up with technology the way that it did and is so integrated into their daily lives, because with that skill set alone, something that most of us in the older generation have had to learn, but didn't have in our youth when we were growing up. With that, you are propelled to do so much more in the workforce and as a member of society with that skill set. But as a result of COVID-19, I'm just really excited about all the pivots that we've had to make by force in making access to resources and education more available to people wherever they are, and being able to enter these communities, being able to enter people's homes, and being able to transcend borders and countries, and making things free and available and accessible. I'm just really excited about all of that, because right now people can get courses like the ones that Shaz has mentioned or others to learn how to code, to learn how to read data, to become a data scientist, to learn more about AI, to learn how to use certain technologies that have become essential during this time. And they're able to do that for free. And I understand that the virtual environment sometimes hasn't been socioeconomically equitable as well. And it has made things harder for the people that have a household with a lot of members in it that are having a hard time finding a quiet workspace to be able to do schoolwork and whatnot. And that these differences and discrepancies have been more apparent virtually and digitally. But at the same time, I'm just so excited that youth have always been at the forefront of coming up with solutions throughout history, and them experiencing this during this time. I just am so excited for the ideas and the solutions and the businesses that will be able to come out of how to work in a more digitalized world together and how to address some of these very important issues.
Thank you all so much. We have about 5 minutes left. So what I'll ask is maybe for each of you in a minute, maybe to consolidate your one call to action for youth that are watching this, and just youth in the world. We'll try and keep that short. But yeah, we'll start with Mayela.
Awesome. So to build off of what I just said, really go out there and leverage all of these resources that are available to you. Go out there and learn about how to become part of this movement rather than be scared of being left behind. And you know, there's amazing things that companies are doing, that organizations are doing. IBM has a Code and Response initiative that allows young people from all over the world to enter into teams with developers and address real life situations, including things like COVID-19, but others like climate change. And you can have access to workshops, you have access to mentors, you have access to being able to learn these skills and enter a competition that can actually get funded if your solution gets chosen. And you might have the ability to actually implement some of these solutions on the ground and being able to gain field experience. So I know that a lot of young people's internships got rescinded during this time, but there's still so much opportunity to enter into a coding boot camp with Girls Who Code, to enter Code and Response with IBM, to look up courses with Coursera or with General Assembly, things that you can do during this time to continue to build your skill set and be ready for what's in a better place.
Manav.
Yeah, I mean, I'll just summarize and say, hey guys, take it easy. Take it easy. It's all good. It's all in your favor. Trust us. I see it that way. It's all in your favor. Even just see what you're good at and stick to that and leverage that. Even if you are like, example, you're great in gaming or gamification, you're great at Fortnite. You can make money using Fortnite today, right? There are enough things happening on Fortnite. So you just need to be creative enough. You need to be just ambitious enough, passionate enough to go after your dreams. You don't really have to reinvent yourself. So don't really fret and say, if I'm a basketball player, you don't have to become a tennis player. You can still be a basketball player and really do some big stuff. You need to join your clan. You need to look for your tribe. Just make sure you're out there in the world, getting connected to people like you, who can take you along, right? The people will make a big difference. You need to be with the right people. Look for your clan and join your clan. That's what the only advice I would give at this point of time.
Thank you. And Shaz?
I mean, first of all, wash your hands, wear a mask, socially distance. Those are some of the base level things I would like you to, if you're watching, please do. Let's we know what works when we're trying to defeat COVID, so let's do that. But of course, AI and all these different technologies, the education behind them, they've been democratized. You can go off and start your Microsoft AI for Business school today for free, and that'll give you the skill sets needed to understand where to build your career and how to reposition what you already do in that framework. So that's there, go for it. But we need to think about the basics, right? If you're concerned about automation, if you're concerned about, getting grants or UBI, then I strongly encourage the youth, please register and please vote. Take part in the democracy that you may live in. I know this is a world call, but the numbers for youth who vote are very low. And I know there's some structural barriers in place that are stopping you from doing that. Trust me, I know. But if we triple the amount of youth that actually voted, the entire system will change. The entire system will change. So we have deeply flawed democratic institutions and structural racism, 100%. But these tools still work. So we can maybe register and encourage our other friends to register, somehow make it cool, and actually get up there and vote, whether it's your, if it's your city, if it's your state, province, federal, I don't care. But if we can do that, that's going to really help all of us put the right leaders in charge. So that, and then feel free to add all of us on LinkedIn. I'm sure we're all willing to help out and give you more advice, give us, more resources and tools. So definitely it's hard to be positive, but let's recognize that the tools have been democratized. And now it's our time to gain these skills and use these tools to reframe our skill sets and make sure that we're really relevant to the future and help shape and curate a fourth industrial revolution that works for all generations.
Wow, I just want to say thank you to all three of you for being here today. This has been extremely beneficial to me, and I'm sure everybody who's been watching, all the comments coming in have been very excited about this conversation. So we're looking forward to the rest of the conference. We're looking forward to hopefully talking to you in the future and hearing from you just out and about. But yeah, thank you so much. And we're going to wrap up this broadcast. Please, everyone, come back in a few minutes for the next session.
Thank you.
Thank you, all of you. Thank you, especially Rebecca. Thanks.
Thank you.